Coming up on the program, French President Emmanuel Macron holds interactive session with entrepreneurs in Lagos, visits the new African shrine. A motorway collision in Kenya kills 9 people, injures 20 others. And the UN says war crimes have been committed in the DR Congo's Kasai region. Welcome to the program. I'm Millicent Umoka. We begin here in Lagos, Nigeria, where President Emmanuel Macron has attended a gathering of young entrepreneurs from 54 African countries at the invitation of the Tony Elumelu Foundation to interact with business leaders, including beneficiaries of the foundation. Well, after holding bilateral talks with President Buhari in Abuja and spending the night at the African Shrine, the President answered some burning questions from participants at the business forum held at the Eco Hotel and Suites in Victoria Island. In his address, he challenged entrepreneurs to take advantage of Africa's youthful population and change the current narrative about the continent. Well, he was also, we mentioned, visiting the famous African shrine built in honor of legendary musician Fela in Lagos. While the French president tweeted a video of his visit to the shrine Tuesday night, saying it reminded him of the African energy he discovered when he was last in Lagos at the age of 23. Well, earlier, Mr. Macron was at the presidential villa Abuja, where he held talks with President Muhammadu Buhari.
President Muhammadu Buhari welcomed his French counterpart, President Emmanuel Macron, to the presidential villa Abuja as part of a 2-day working visit to the country. According to the French president, security, the fight against Boko Haram, and the promotion of the newly formed G5 Sahel initiative are important issues for the future of the region.
What's important to me is how the African governments in different African countries organize themselves to fight against terrorism and get rid of these people, and especially jihadism. So that's why I do accompany and I do promote the G5 Sahel initiative. And I think the forces organized and where Nigeria is a cornerstone player with Niger, Chad, and Cameroon is very important with Boko Haram. I think first we have to increase the pressure. Yesterday with our friends from G5 Sahel, we worked very hard on the different operations to come. And I think we have to increase the pressure on the operations against this jihadist. We can fix the situation in the coming months, and obviously France will remain present in Sahel as long as they want it.
Mr. Macron also hopes to strengthen ties between France and Nigeria. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari praised Mr. Macron for his plan to visit the new African shrine in Lagos.
What France is doing, we all know, in trying to stabilize the region, especially in dealing with G5. In our own case, you can all recall when I came to this office, my first port of call was Chad, Niger, Cameroon, and Benin. Our neighbors that happen to be former French colonies. This makes a lot of sense. The best thing is to develop good relationship with your neighbors. It will cost you less in terms of material needed for development. And in this respect, I'm very grateful to France for the support we have been getting.
Our hours later, President Macron arrived at the new Africa Shrine, where he announced the launch of an initiative called Seasons of African Cultures 2020.
What we wanted to launch this evening is the African Culture Season 2020.
During an evening in which classic Fela songs were played alongside contemporary artists, Mr. Macron told the audience that France plans to host a series of events on African culture for African artists by African artists.
We need a new narrative. What we need is new people to make this narrative. I think what we need is a new generation of artists, of entrepreneurs, of people coming from civil society, of journalists, of intellectuals coming from Africa and explaining, speaking about Africa in Europe and everywhere.
But before you go up, okay.
The French president also encouraged young people to get involved in politics, saying Fela Kuti had not just been a musician, but also a politician who wanted to change society.
I mean, referring to your father, he was not just a musician. He was as well a politician in the whole meaning. He was a politician because he wanted to change society. So if I have just one message for young people here in the shrine tonight, yes, politics is important, yes, be involved, and there is no advice.
Fela was jailed on dozens of occasions by military rulers in the 1970s and 1980s. The new Africa Shrine replaced the famed original venue created by Fela, who burned down in 1977. It is managed by the musicians' sons Femi and Sheung, who continue their father's musical and cultural tradition.
Human rights activist Olatunji Lanre-Barua joins us on the program to talk about the significance of President Macron's visit, especially to the new African Shrine. What were your thoughts when you heard he was coming?
First, thank you for having me. Well, I think I was excited. You know, it's the first time. Well, in our history where you have a visiting foreign head of state decide to go to the African Shrine. It's most of us actually, maybe because Fela is from among us and Fela is from here, his music we've grown to know and to love, we usually sometimes mistakenly underestimate the influence of his music. He's a very significant African artist in Europe. A lot of people celebrate Fela even long after he's been gone.
Something also happened. The French president announced the launch of an initiative called Seasons of African Cultures 2020. Do you see that helping to change the narrative a lot of people abroad especially have about the continent, Africa?
I don't want to be careless in dismissing that as tokenism, because I think it's going to take a whole lot more to change the African narrative. It's going to take a whole lot more to change the African experience, to change the story of the African continent. Africa has been at the receiving end of globalization. The productive capacity of Africa is less than 1% of the global capacity. And you see a whole lot, you look at the highest number of people living in extreme poverty is in Africa. Even there's a report, the Brookings Institute report estimated that by 2030, we're going to have practically almost 9 out of every 10 people living in extreme poverty coming from sub-Saharan Africa. So that it's going to take a whole lot more. But the step taken by the French president is significant, and I think we must take note of that while we walk towards changing our story.
Looking at young people on the continent, Mr. Macron encouraged them to get involved in politics. Do you see Nigerian youth heeding to this call?
Nigerian youth have been, they've been taking decisive steps. A lot of young candidates are on the ballot this time around. We have Yele Sowore is on the ballot. We have there's a Buhari, a guy called Buhari who's also on the ballot. So, Kingsley Moghalu is not a young candidate, but he's a non-establishment candidate. We have there's a lady, a woman that just joined the race. She's 39 years old. That was just this week or last week. So there's a lot of young people, and we have the bill that's just been passed, and there's a buzz
that's
all
the thing.
around Nigeria.
Are they really ready to serve, or they just want a piece of the national cake?
It's different, talking about the capacity to lead now and the ability to lead. A lot of young Nigerians are capable. A lot of young Nigerians are doing great things elsewhere, across the world, even within the Nigerian society. But Nigeria is a complex place to rule, to provide leadership from. Everything in Nigeria seems to frustrate the entrepreneurs, seems to frustrate the people who like to work independent of the system. You are going to have to need much more than just the vigor to run the Nigerian state. If the present president, who used to be a military leader, could not just rein in everybody within the political establishment to fall into line, then it will take a lot much more. But where there's a will, there's a way.
You mentioned the bill that was passed, the Not Too Young to Run bill, and we also know that the president of France became president at, relatively young, 39. He's also urging youth to get involved. What lessons can we learn from him?
The lessons are obvious. The lessons are obvious, and one primary thing is that the Nigerian youth needs to get involved. We can't stay outside of the political minefield and, become Twitter warlords, armchair critics, and be criticizing what's going on. If you don't get involved, if you can't get into the existing political parties, start a new movement. People need to get involved. Macron has been part of the establishment. He's been in the system. He, like he said he was in Nigeria as an intern at the French embassy at 23. That's been almost like about 15 years before he became prime minister. So we need to get involved. We need to get into the heart of, the political system. We need to see how government is run. We need to see, if you don't understand how government is run, you will not understand how to transform and change the system.
So there is hope for the youth. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, Millicent. Always a pleasure.
In East Africa, at least 9 people have been killed and 20 others critically injured in a bus and truck collision on a highway southeast of Kenya's capital, Nairobi. The accident, which resulted in a fireball that inflamed both vehicles, took place near the town of Imali. The injured have since been taken to a nearby hospital. According to the latest statistics on the website of the World Health Organization, road accidents kill between 3,000 and 13,000 Kenyans every year. Let's get more on the story from a Kenyan journalist, Eric Gavala. Eric, thank you for joining us on the program. What more can you tell us about the accident?
Well, we know, first of all, that Kenya is placed among countries with the highest carnage in the East. And the latest incident, which occurred on the Mombasa-Nairobi highway, where 9 people died, when the passenger bus had a head-on collision with a truck. 20 people were badly injured, and something else is that 10 people are still unaccounted for, because the bus burst into flames on impact. So this accident happened when the bus, according to some of the survivors, was speeding, and when the driver was overtaking, he inadvertently, met in a road collision with the oncoming truck. So this immediately, led to the bus bursting into flames, and 9 of the people who are in the bus immediately succumbed to, their injuries.
Unfortunate accident. You mentioned overspeeding. Did the drivers of the truck and the bus, did they survive, and will they be prosecuted?
Well, the driver of the truck luckily survived the horrific accident and was among those who were rushed to hospital because he had sustained some serious injuries. The driver of the bus unfortunately perished in the accident. Regarding prosecution, well, in this case, I don't think the driver of the lorry will face any charges in court, given according to preliminary investigations of the police, he was not to blame for the reckless overtaking. So he might walk scot-free.
Many thanks, Eric Kavala. Thank you for your time. Still to come on the program, the police in Zimbabwe arrest 2 suspects over a grenade blast at President Emerson Mnangagwa's campaign rally. Please stay with us.